Well, thank you. I'm a neuroscientist by training, but I've been in IT for decades by now. And we have had a lot of experience with the potentials and the challenges we and lots of other small and medium-sized enterprises face when implementing AI in the real world. So where are we at the moment in Germany or in Europe? We thought, well, we could use AI to help us make us more efficient, combat staff shortages, maybe get some productivity up. But we are still sort of in the way thinking, what are we going to do? What is the use case? Are we going to do it at all? Whilst the rest of the world has gone out and done it. They have tried it out and learned from the mistakes, and we are still sitting here thinking, what are we going to do? I see this as in our own company. I see it as a consultant for other companies, and we are involved with the FAMILIENUNTERNEHMER, and here again we see the same attitude a lot of the times. I'm going to start with what we actually do in project work. We have a company that creates 3D digital photographic twins out of your factory environments or whatever you have got. That means you have something like Google Street View, but for your own environment. And you can move through it in 3D and look at all your factories, your machinery, anything you have. But without more information, you just have pictures. And this is what we do. We use hundreds or thousands of images and try and make sense of them. So the first thing is to look at all the labels that are actually on the machinery. You see this on the left-hand side. OCR, optical character recognition, is a great thing for this. But in this cluttered environment we see on the left-hand side with very few labels, hard-to-read labels, this is quite difficult. So what we had to do is create our own OCR to match it to maintenance schedules, match it to other databases there is. So you have your 3D environment with information. And the same we do is for images. We want to recognize objects. It's fantastic with standard objects, cats, dogs, mice, etc. But once you move to the factory and you're looking for some shut-off valve, it's going to get difficult, especially if you want to find your object in a certain environment, in a certain condition. So what we do is we combine more traditional deterministic computing methods with the AI to solve those use cases. And these use cases can be, I'm looking for a certain object that's actually not installed in my environment. So this is where AI needs to be combined with other methods to solve the use case. And of course, we also do large language models. We combine them with RAG normally, retrieval augmented generation, to solve our customers' use cases. It's normally embedded within some workflow. I'll give you an example. We've got this client, which is a large infrastructure company that has lots and lots of building sites. And what happens in Germany, once you've got building sites, you get the local politicians, local stakeholders, some other organizations to ask the typical questions. What is going to happen with the bat that's found near the building site? Or what noise abatement measures are you going to take so we can live in peace and quiet? And these questions need fast and accurate and timely answers. And who gets to do this? Of course, the most busy project manager on the building site who would actually do other things. And that is where AI comes in, because AI can streamline this process if you combine it with a decent workflow. You have to think these questions may span something like 50 or so, that's 50 pages, and may involve multiple teams, maybe 30 or so lawyers, so this is quite a lot. And someone needs to stay on top of this, and we need to have answers for this, and we want to give those answers maybe by some less experienced person. That's why we use generative AI to give answers, but always include it in a workflow so this actually works, so we have the project manager doing their project work and not being messed up with answering questions the whole day. But we keep the human in the loop. So who's we? We are a group of companies. Back in 1980, my father and a PhD colleague of his founded this company by putting their engineering thesis into real software. That was back in 1980 when spin-offs weren't really known in Germany. And this company grew over the years, and in 1997, we split the architectural design part, the 3D architectural design part, from the management of properties. And then we added some more companies. That is the energy management company, that's Veritech, and the photorealistic digital twins, that's Framens, and to manage properties that are quite complex, so hospitals, factories, airports, what have you. It's a family business. My brother runs that side of the company, and I'm responsible for Innomatik, which is our R&D laboratory. What we do is we work with universities, we look at what research does, fundamental research in AI. We also look at consumer goods, and we think of how can we put this into business use cases, because not all university research can actually be applied to businesses, to the real world. And that's what we do. And there's been a lot of fun over the years. But we also have more than 100 people now. So basically, we face the same challenges when introducing AI in our own company with our clients. And as part of the FAMILIENUNTERNEHMER, we also see it there. It is incredibly interesting, but there are a lot of challenges. And that's what I'm going to talk about now. So first of all, we have to be honest, SMEs don't really have expert AI people on staff. With the demographic change, that gets worse. And being in places like Bensheim, Blaubeuren, or Berneburg, it's going to be quite difficult to attract AI staff. So what does the business do? They say, well, let's give it to IT. They deal with it, like they always do. But then you have to think that I've still to meet one or other IT department that's not busy with other things. And you have to think that AI is a whole new ballgame. Even experienced IT staff need or have a steep learning curve when applying AI. You can always employ other people, bringing external knowledge straight out of university. It's going to get quite difficult when you have these things implemented in your IT environment. I'll talk about that in a minute. A good thing is obviously cooperating with external companies that specialize in these things. Here you of course have to make sure that they understand your use case and that they are experienced. Because with AI, it works probabilistically. That means it's not quite as easy to have something like specifications and test against them. And the last thing is, a great thing is cooperating with universities. They know the advantages, but also the deficits of AI. They can understand how to apply these, but of course here communication is key. These people need to understand your use case. I don't have to tell you that AI is a big hype. And the first thing you need to do is you need to take one step back and define achievable goals. And how do you do this? You start with looking at your data. We have to admit that a lot of AI projects are actually data projects in disguise. There's nothing wrong with that. You need to start somewhere, and data is obviously the most important thing for an AI project. We always suggest our customers to start with some sort of proof of concept. Because if you start with a small proof of concept and earn some low-hanging fruits, like some knowledge management thing for your staff, this is a great thing to do, which then needs to obviously be evaluated, and then deployed according to the learnings from this evaluation. Another great thing, I met some company the other day, which is quite interesting. They tried to include their workforce. They told their staff, well, we're having this competition now. Think of ideas, where can we use AI in our daily business? And they even had the budget for the implementation for the winners, which is quite good because it involved the workforce and they had quite a few good ideas. Right in the beginning when ChatGPT was released, even big companies stumbled when engineers put their sensitive data into ChatGPT and it learned from this, which is quite interesting. Of course, you can buy into programs and they make sure that generative AI doesn't learn from your data, but you still have to put your data in the cloud. Most of our customers don't do this. And they say, well, our data does not leave the premises. We stay on-prem, and AI ups the stakes somewhat because AI is a gold mine for your innovation, but it's also a gold mine for unintended exposure. So what we normally do is we have smaller models, and we host them on-prem or in the private cloud. This has got the advantage that your data stays within your environment, and it stays there, and you make sure that it is actually not leaving the environment. Also, you have to think that education and rules are really important, because 40% of all AI work at work is actually off the rails. Nobody knows about it. People putting sensitive data on their local mobile phone, on their private mobile phone, the ChatGPT. People will use it, but so you have to make sure your workforce knows what's going on. AI is not plug and play. Sometimes I wish it was, but it's not. AI is a whole project. It's like introducing a new player into a complex orchestra. It needs to harmonize from data security to data flow. It all needs to come together, because only if you have AI within your IT, it can actually pick the low-hanging fruits. So AI is an IT project, and it needs your IT support. That means it needs experience, foresight, and careful planning. You can't just move into an AI project and say, well, this is it now. It's quite interesting. I've been at this conference where lots and lots of startups talked about their great AI projects, and none of them had actually considered that they need to think about user access rights or data security. They are so busy with having this great AI features that they don't actually think that you need to put this all together into this ecosystem that's already present. Your IT ecosystem is already there. The data is there, so it needs to come together. And this is why you need to involve your IT department early and learn from it. They know what data flow means. The cultural resistance stems from a mix of fear and anxiety of being replaced by machines, robots taking over, or being generally apprehensive. This is hard to combat heads-on, but what I've found over the years is involve the people early. If AI stays in the shadows, it's a secret project the CEO likes, what happens is you get the children's game of telephone. So someone starts with some sort of rumor, and by the time it's passed through a few people, you've got this massive wild thing out there like AI or robots taking over the office or AI replacing everybody's job by next Friday. This happens if you keep it secret. They will know anyway that something's going on. So be open and prevent speculation. And we always do small-scale POCs and then involve the people so they actually know what's going on. So far, it's been easy. We talked about things that you actually can do in your own companies. But with political uncertainties, you cannot. It's not as straightforward. It's more unpredictable. We had hoped that AI would help us become more efficient, and the whole world has done it, and we're still sitting there waiting. I mean, it's right we're waiting. We're waiting for the AI Act first. We knew it was coming, and we knew it could be expensive if we violated it, but we didn't know what was going to happen. So we can't really blame businesses for not investing if the uncertainties are out there. Especially for the European companies. I mean, the US giant tech companies could shrug and just go and focus on some other part of the world. But with small, medium-sized enterprises deeply rooted within Europe, this is a really difficult, or there was a really difficult phase. Now the AI Act is out there, but we're not out the woods yet. The guessing game is over. But like us and the FAMILIENUNTERNEHMER, we are advocating for better support, for more reliable rules, but we need also a lot more to do. AI, at the moment, the AI Act seems to favor the big players, large corporations that have the resources, the legal teams to negotiate the complexities. SMEs face the same challenges and the same penalties if they get it wrong, but they don't have the legal teams, the money to actually do it. How to cope with that? I don't really know. For example, we've got the regulation on model size. If you think about model size, well, everything gets bigger. It's Moore's law. Computing power gets less expensive. But, I mean, if you buy a new car and it has got more horsepower, you don't really need a new driving license. And it's pretty much the same out there. And with more rules and regulations, I mean, regulation on use case is a good idea in theory. But if you think about it in reality, it means more bureaucracy, people needing to judge your use case, people needing to know what's going on. And having talked to some of the staff who need to judge this and need to decide which use case falls into which category, it's very difficult. It's quite interesting, and you have to think about it, it gets expensive, because there are hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of use cases out there, and someone has to judge all this. And this is going to get expensive. That means, who's willing to foot the bill for this? And the SMEs can't do it because they are up to their neck in water anyway. As I said, we are members of the Die FAMILIENUNTERNEHMER and the Commission on Competition Law and Digitization Politics. And we are calling for what every business needs or wants, is stability. Of course, the world changes, we know this. I mean, culture changes, companies changes, markets change. There's all a constant flow. But what we don't need is the political back and forth, because if you can't rely on this, it's really hard to invest. And there are great laws on product liability. They have been in place for many, many years. They're internationally recognized, and they work for everything: toasters, airplanes, and even software. So why do they not work for AI? I'm not saying that we don't need any regulations, of course not. But we need to, when I introduce software or AI to a company, I need to make sure it works and it doesn't do any harm, of course not. But at the same time, I can't prevent everything. No law will prevent everything, of course not. You can't blame Microsoft if someone writes a ransom note with Microsoft Word. Of course not, you wouldn't. And this is the same for AI. Of course, you can use a chatbot to learn how to do something nefarious or create some deepfake to try and influence political opinions. Of course, you can do this, but is it the tool or the person doing it? Well, we think it's not the tool. Therefore, we are advocating for AI product liability and a clear and reliable framework that allows developers and businesses to manage their risks. Because that's the second thing. If there is a decent risk management, we need to be able to insure our software. No business person can put software or any technology out there without managing these risks. They'd be reckless if they did. And this is exactly what the FAMILIENUNTERNEHMER and we are pushing for. And we need you all to join in because this is important. The economic outlook, particularly in Germany, is quite bleak at the moment. But we've got something strong, and this is our SMEs. And these SMEs have existed for many, many, many years, centuries, some of them. And they've always innovated, they have always tried to lead change, and they've always created value for the whole thing around them. And they've always taken on technological advances. And now we are ready to embrace AI to make us more productive, as another tool to stay more productive, and we need the right political framework to move forward, to compete within Europe, but also globally. And this is why we need those policies to help us maintain our standard of living and continue to innovate for the future. Thank you very much.